Hey-oh, hey-oh. Hello and welcome to Reclaim Within. I am your host, Ash. I am so grateful and so glad that you are here. My prayer for you today is that as we step into this time and space together, join me in never stopping being a student of your own becoming, that you stay soft enough and connected enough to be shaped by life and brave enough to let what you thought you knew be undone again and again and again. Today, I would like to dive into something that feels very alive in me at this moment. I keep returning to it, and I think it's very much inspired by the cosmic archetypes as it relates to us here down on Earth, as above, so below, as within, so without. There's a lot of shifts happening. We recently had Uranus, the planet of Great Awakening and upheaval, the higher octave of Mercury, the mad scientist. These are all the archetypal structures that Uranus holds. Just moved into Gemini and is going to be there for almost the next 8 years. And in this current life experience I'm having, I'm realizing the beauty of this Great Awakener and how much upheaval can be brought in with him. I believe that we all have agency. We all have choice. We might not be always the ones with the pen, but we are in co-creation with this beautiful world that we live in. And whether you call it the creator, the universe, God, the greater cosmic weaving that we are doing is very alive in all of us, and we are in choice with how we show up inside of this experience we're having. And so if you would like to be part of this, the shift of awakening and the shift of remembering, I think is a better word for it, that it's happening on this earth right now throughout all this upheaval. If that calling is alive inside of you, if you feel it stirring, if you deeply desire to not turn towards the fear and the contraction, but you'd like to actually allow for yourself to open to what is possible and what is being birthed, or what is able to be birthed through us when we allow ourselves to pay attention, I think the answer is much more simple and maybe much more difficult than we think it might be in being able to contribute, to be able to be part of a shift and change. And that brings us to really what I want to speak to today. Staying humble and staying curious. That's it. That's the whole thing. That's what I've been sitting with and contemplating and being inside of in a really big way. And I know that it might sound like not enough. Like, how is me being humble and curious going to shift or change anything? There's so much upheaval out there. There's so much chaos. There's so much turmoil. And I get that. I really do. But stay with me, because here's what I have noticed in myself and in the spaces that I've moved through and the people that I worked with and that I walk with along this path of being in service or being open to walking a path that honors life. The moment that any of us believe that we actually have something figured out, whether it's spiritually, emotionally, somatically, is actually the moment that we begin to close. Not dramatically, it's not super obvious, but it's this really subtle shutting that happens, or a narrowing. And in that narrowing, we actually lose access to the very thing that makes transformation, true transformation, possible, which is an open state of being. And I've been there many, many times, and I've caught myself in it, that loop that sounds something like, let me just cling to what I know. I desire certainty so deeply that let me just keep my eye on what I know could be true, or let me just offer what I know that I have. And it actually shuts us down to so much. Let me tell you a really short story. I went to a doctor recently because I've been in this really wild exploration of wellness for, 6 or 7 years now. I brought some really important data or information into this practitioner. And the data I brought in was from a test that I had taken from a very fringe, cutting edge procedure. And this practitioner, this person in the medical field, what I brought in was so confronting to this medical professional's belief structure that they could not handle the results, and they could not handle the possibility that it might have something to do with what I'm working through. And this person went on a rant of how there is no evidence, and it was very dismissive of the evidence and the the testing that was done. And I left that space being able to hold multiple truths, able to understand that what I just triggered this person's belief structure so deeply in what I brought in. And I understand that this person has gone to so much schooling and done so much work and has so much evidence to why their belief structure is the way that it is. But what I left with was a very real understanding that this person was not going to be able to see me as a whole human, that this person was not going to have the belief structure to be able to witness me inside of my wholeness. So that if I work with them, I need to know walking in that they are closed to a lot of what I perceive as opportunities and options. And that is okay. That is a life experience that they're having. What I thought of was how many people walk into that office and don't have the understanding of how transformation truly works. For us to really be able to transform, we actually need to stay somewhat open to the possibility that we could not actually have all the answers, that there might be some, in my case, emerging science that is showing how these other procedures and other opportunities are very real and can really shift things. And I see this as a really big place where all of us can learn from. It is important to be able to know what our skill set is. It is important to know what we are really good at. It is important to be able to offer what we know and how we understand ourselves out to the world. It is really important to be able to be an expert. And I think what's going to be most valuable in the next 7 years is actually more about being able to stay open and curious for how else could this get done, or what else could be possible, or where am I rigid in my perceiving, in my thinking? Where am I not allowing for myself to realize what other options I'm not seeing because of my locked in perception? There is a distortion that can live inside of the impulse to be right. And if we're not careful, we fall into that distorted place. And it's subtle enough that you really might not even see it at first. And it can look like service. It can sound like wisdom. But underneath it, there's a quiet kind of closure. I have arrived energy wearing the costume of offering. And we lose ourselves inside of it. We actually lose the thread. We lose what's possible. We lose the door of opportunities. The most healing thing I believe any of us can offer to this world, to this earth right now, in this particular moment, in this evolution of consciousness, is the ability to stay grounded within ourselves while remaining open to what's possible, not clinging to expertise, not clinging to your answers, not having perfectly crafted frameworks for exactly how healing works. I think selling ourselves as any expert in any area is just going to feel not as authentic or sincere moving forward, because it removes the humanness. It removes the, hey, I'm in this too. It removes the, I don't have all the answers. Because right now, in the times that we are living in, when I look at the astrological mapping, the cosmic map, when I look around and I see the confusion on a mass scale and the fear on a mass scale, I can understand why people want certainty and they want answers. But in this three-dimensional realm, if we cling to that, it actually orients us to clinging to an ego structure that closes us down to what is possible and what is potential for us. Your openness, your ability to stay grounded and also curious in a time like this is going to allow for all of us to birth something genuinely new. We will be able to birth new ways of relating, new orientations in consciousness. And none of us can birth something new from a closed orientation. If you are gripping to what you know and to what you feel and to what's true in your perception of reality, you are actually automatically closing yourself down from what's possible. And so it's a false orientation to think that if I grip onto this, that's grounded. To be grounded in yourself is actually to be so rooted that you can be wrong, that you are open to new emerging information, that you are open to seeing how things could shift and how things could actually potentially be a beautiful blessing for yourself, for your family, for your friends, for this earth. But it is only in allowing for ourselves to stay so rooted in ourselves that we can sway and we can bend and we can agree that I'm going to keep my perception of the truth and I'm not going to hold it so rigidly. I'm going to open myself up to being able to shift into a possibility that there's more to it than what I see or what I feel or what I've researched. This is the archetypal energetics of this Uranus in Gemini transit, mixed in with a lot of other fire and air, a lot of the transpersonal planets, the deeper planets, the ones that are harder for us to fully grok or grasp inside of our consciousness, are pointing us towards needing us to open up to birthing something completely different into this realm and into this world. A lot of us don't understand how much we are the meaning makers. We are the ones that are guiding our own perception of the world. And so the more you cling to your perception and don't question it, the more closed you become and the darker the lens that you could see through. Anything you perceive as all bad or all good, that is a shadow aspect of yourself. The shadow is either a dark shadow or a golden shadow. Nothing is all good. Nothing is all bad. It's a place where you cling to hold certainty. The kind of certainty that I invite you to hold is a certainty that there is something greater than us. There is a God, there is a creator, there is a universe, there is a consciousness, there is the mother nature, whatever you want to call it, that is greater than our human conceiving minds can hold, and that there's a greater plan and a greater awareness that we can all tap into. And the more that we are in gratitude to that greater orientation to the world, the more we can actually allow ourselves to be grounded, because we believe and we trust and we know that there's something more alive holding us in this transformational state. So this is not to say that each individual doesn't have beautiful offerings that we want to bring into this world and create with and give to humanity. It's actually just to say, don't get lost in what you are offering and forget to stay open to the magic. open to learning from each and every person you interact with, if you stay curious and open with every single interaction you have, even especially the people that actually are harder for you, the people that are harder for you are showing you your own shadow. So how do you find gratitude and understanding for them? Literally every single human you meet, every interaction you have, it is your greatest teacher. Curiosity keeps the open hand, and humility keeps the ego from gripping. Humility allows for us to stay more grounded into reality. And these aren't soft virtues. These are not beginner qualities that you graduate from once you've done enough inner work. They are the advanced, constant orientation to the world. They are your devotional work. They are the devotional orientation. They are the ongoing practice of someone who actually understands how deep this river runs and how beautiful it is when we actually allow ourselves to be in connection with life and allow ourselves to continue to be initiated into life. So if you are feeling a pull to help or to heal or to be in service, I'm not here to say don't follow that instinct, don't follow that urge. Definitely go towards the direction that your soul is calling you, whatever that may be. And I invite you to carry humility with you like a lantern, and let curiosity be one of your greatest companions, who allows for you to keep asking the questions that you thought that you maybe already had answered, because the shifts are going to happen so quickly over the next 8 to 20 years. We are going to be inundated with so much possibility, so much opportunity, and I don't want you to be so afraid and locked down and locked in that you miss the opportunity for all that is that's coming our way. That posture, that open, humble, ever curious posture is actually how we heal together. It's how we birth something new into the world. It's how we actually get back to real human to human connection. This is such an important piece. The human to human connection is, we're starving for it. We're starving for it right now. So this is how you grow. Something worth growing on this earth is staying humble and curious. I don't know about you, but I dream in circles. I dream, and I know with everything that I am, that we are birthing together. We are reweaving together something sacred and beautiful. And I will keep holding that knowing like a flame. I will keep returning to it often. And I will also keep being curious of what that's going to look like. I thought I was building circles one way in my life, and now I'm obviously very much not building it in that way. And so I'm staying curious and humble and open. I'm still dreaming in circles. I still dream of communities that are woven in again and not so fractured away from each other. I don't know how we're going to get there. I don't know how I'm going to be a part of that. I'm going to just keep holding it and returning to it. I also know this: there is absolutely no reweaving without first feeling the unraveling. You cannot reweave something if you've not felt what is being unraveled. And it's not a flaw in the design. It is the design. It is the most important part. So it's not going to be super comfortable all the time. And how do we allow ourselves to actually have grace and compassion and care and so much love for ourselves when there is so much discomfort? So the question I keep sitting with, and the one I will leave you with today, is this: how do we stay open to all of the teachers in our lives? Because they don't always arrive looking like teachers. Sometimes they arrive looking like conflict, like rupture, like the conversation that left you breathless in all of the wrong ways. Sometimes they arrive in the body of a person who triggers you the most. That is your teacher. You know those people. You know the people who send your somatic system just soaring, your heart pounding, your nervous system just lights up like a live wire. Yeah, the ones you want to dismiss or distance yourself from or be just done with. Those people, those relationships, those moments, they are so often the ones carrying the most honest medicine for us. And I'm not saying that you need to keep putting yourself in those circumstances or keep even interacting with those people. But what I am saying is, what is the medicine that is being brought up in us? What is the discomfort that's being brought up in us so that we can turn in and connect to those places and spaces and love ourselves so deeply in those discomfort orientations that we remember we remember who we are so that people can't actually poke at those spots. So we can actually become a deeper well. This isn't because suffering is the point. It's just because our edges, the places where we contract and react and want to run, those are the maps of the places where we haven't fully reclaimed ourselves. So they show us exactly where we're still gripping and where the next layer of opening lives. So staying humble enough to actually receive that and staying curious enough to ask, what is here to teach me, instead of how do I make it stop? Like, how do I nurture myself? How do I shift this charge in my body? That's the practice. That's the path. This is what staying open and curious is all about. It's not having all the answers. It's not knowing how to move forward all the time. It's not knowing what you're going to do next or how to interact with someone who really grinds your gears. It's just sitting inside of the trigger, staying open, staying curious, understanding that there might be something you haven't actually fully even revealed yet. You might have actually not even revealed what's real and what's on the other side. So how can you stay in that messy middle? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing this with anybody that you feel like could use some sacred remembering. I am here to express and connect with the sacredness of life. And I am so deeply grateful for each of you and the time that you spend here with me. If you do feel called to go deeper, I would love to have you join my monthly live Zoom calls at the end of the month, where we gather and work towards reclaiming within. If you become a paid member of my Substack, you will automatically get invited at the end of every month to join me and do live Q&A and go deeper on all of these topics. You can find me on Substack, you can find me on Instagram, and I would love to work deeper with you. Thank you so much. Many blessings to you. Sending you lots of love. So grateful.